empty house this evening, but we'll call to order the meeting for 7 o'clock at the November the 24th. And first item on the business is the public participation.
Can I speak later, Joe?
No. But the one other thing I want to note, is that Mr. Caswell, I'm not putting anybody on as alternate, so we have to go for a vote on something, is that he's going to be late coming to the meeting, so we'll just assume. Mr. Bowe.
For the record, Howard Bowe, I want to talk about something you did last meeting. And I guess my first request would be that you direct the secretary to furnish me with a copy of the minutes for last meeting. I want to talk about the item where the Marriott representatives were here requesting that you move.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
We'll get lots of those.
The Marriott representative was here requesting that money be moved from an extinct library committee, or a library committee that had been dissolved, stopped being in existence. However, the terminology was done last year, I think in March, or in April, somewhere in that vicinity. The money was taken from there by your vote and given to the facilities committee. Now, the problem is the charter does not allow that, because when the committee ended, that money goes back in the general fund. Now, obviously, if the year had been closed by last week, last month, you would have known that there would be an item there, library committee, money returned to the fund. I don't think an audit's going to find that, because they don't look at records that the Board of Selectmen do. So it's up to you now, I believe, to see that the money belongs in the general fund and reverse what you already did. Unfortunately, the charter is very strict as far as monies not being appropriated properly. Eventually, somebody has to take it out of their pocket. That's not good. Somebody could be what you call terminated because of things that are not appropriated properly. So I'm just here to ask you to do the right thing and reverse what you did.
I would probably ask Mr. Cutler to,
because it's based on the project, so it runs the duration of the project, and since the project is sold, and that money goes into a capital non-recurring account, so it continues beyond that particular budget year.
I don't think you'll get away with that.
It's not a matter of getting away with it. That's the way you do capital projects.
Okay, so
just the way it is.
Just one final comment, please. Obviously, the building committee came up with a deal for buying land across the street and putting a library on it, and the voters said no. So that project ended.
well, okay. Well,
They were still meeting after that.
There was still meeting after that.
Anyway, again, maybe we can get something in from Mr. Cutler at a later date in writing or something along
The one in writing?
Yeah, run in writing. I have a tendency to like those things.
David Denone, Vandale Street Company. Upon taking your seat here, you were sworn into office, and you had sworn to uphold the charter of the town of Putnam as it applies to the general statutes of Connecticut. I ask that you review this charter and its limitations and how your duties do apply. To not do so could result in a termination, through resignation, or forced resignation.
Really?
Yes, sir.
How are you going to do that?
Sir, I'm just asking you to review the charter
How are you going
before
to
you
do that?
make your decisions.
Hey, how are you going to do that?
I believe that
You
I
come in
am
here
not
and you
here
threaten
to-
us? and you tell us that you're gonna get fired, is that it?
Hey,
Yeah, you read on
Savage,
tape.
I want to see this up on the air, okay?
You're gonna see it up on
I
the
want
air.
to see it up on the air.
I mean, you come in here,
This is what I'm asking you to do, is to
I already
review
read
your
it.
charter and make sure you are applying it. Because if you're not, there will be a complaint filed.
big
That help you?
deal. Big deal.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay?
Russell.
You're welcome.
You're welcome to do so.
Okay, any other public participation? That's it. Oops. Oh, is this going to speak now?
Yeah, there's a couple of things I just wanted to bring up.
Number one?
A couple of things. I noticed that a couple of members wanted back information on past years, which I think is a prudent thing, to see what we've spent in previous years to get a handle on things of where we are this year. I also took a look at this budget report. And one thing really...
Wait a minute, let me ask you, are you talking about the general government budget that was submitted for this evening?
Yeah, this whole...
Are you talking about, I just want to make sure we're all...
Yeah, and one thing I saw here is, the third to the last column says, year-to-date expended. Now, what does that really mean? Does that mean it's as of October 31st, August 30th? Meaning to say, does she go and check
I don't
with
know.
accounts payable and with the billing
You
department?
ask her. You're asking the
can't.
wrong person.
I know, I can't.
All right.
I can't. But I'm saying, I used to, Joe, be able to look at this and make, and ask prudent questions on this. But if you don't have all these items as of a specific date, all of them, then where are we in terms as a finance board to be able to determine what questions to ask? You could have some of these that are in May, some could be in August.
One of the questions, Mr. Benoit, that we spoke of last meeting was that perhaps the general budget of Putnam, the $5 million basically, reflect more to what Cole uses for the Board of Ed budget. And that's why there's a difference coming across. One of the questions, when you take, this happens to be just a sheet from the Board of Education budget, and it has, for the time, basically the same time frame, June. That's all I had at the moment. They give you encumbered, year-to-date, projected expense, and projected balance.
Okay, so
With
is
dates
this,
on them.
is this as of a certain date? Because there's no...
Yes.
Okay, it's 6:30.
Exactly.
So, are we to say then everything is as of 6:30, we're led to believe?
When I looked at this over the weekend, I've had to pick it up. I think
Talking about the past 6:30? 6:30, 14?
6:30,
14.
What?
No,
No.
15.
The only date that's dated is
Projected
the October
expenses.
It
31st.
says it's run on October 31st.
I'm talking about year-to-date.
Yeah.
the third
Year-to-date
column,
expended,
third
right?
column.
What you're talking about. In other words, that's,
Year-to-date expended,
that's money spent.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's-
what date is that as of?
October 31st,
The date right above it.
Because
on
it
the-
doesn't say.
I
the
don't
top
know.
right corner. I mean, by definition, the accounting principle of year-to-date is
Is the date.
the date that the report is created.
Well, I saw some inaccuracies as I went through this,
Okay.
just so you know.
And they're
a lot
more
of
than a couple.
inaccuracies.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, I was thinking when you said I had one thing to say, only one?
Yeah, there's a lot of inaccuracies that I see on here, and it's just too bad that we were in the midst we are today, where nowhere in sight as far as close of the year on
We
the end of
have,
the year.
we haven't been able to close with those numbers for last year. It just hasn't been done. I can't answer the question because I know that the mayor has had conversations with the finance person, and I'm not quite sure what the answer is. And to speak about it at the moment, I mean, she's not here, there's not much we can do if we can't ask her a question. I mean, anything we say is, it's a problem. stuck with what we kind of, I mean, that's the wrong word, but.
I think you
we
feel
have-
the same way.
Yeah.
I have no confidence in the numbers that are shown here as of a particular date.
I know there, you know, and
Because-
I spoke with Bob about this, and we talked about, there's one place in there which has to do with monies, and there's $25,000. I have no idea where it came from. I have no idea where it went. This is just in the middle of it. I have no idea. I don't know what AccuFund would say about that. I didn't think you could just do that, because there was never any money in the original budget for that, yet it shows an expended amount of $25,000. I got all kinds of questions.
Because it was processed without going through the proper protocol.
I know.
That's what happened.
And I think it's very difficult for this board, you know, without having people from the outside looking at this stuff, you know, to do it this way. It's very, very difficult to do, you know, and what's wrong with this line? You know, it doesn't look right to me, but someone may, it may be right. I don't know where it came from. Maybe it's a legitimate explanation. I don't know.
See, it's okay to follow I guess, the Board of Ed budget, how they do it, but their numbers are accurate. That's the difference.
You know, yeah. The thing that we liked at the last meeting that we spoke about with the board, I mean, we're looking at figures from them, and that's, you know, that's a massive budget compared to this.
Right.
And we're looking at figures the same way. You know, it's not a whole different, you know, it's here, it's there, it's everywhere else. That's the way the Board of Ed does it. Why can't we do it that way? At the end of the, you know, what are we, 4 months into the budget now?
Right.
How much money have we expended and how much we got? You know, I can't answer that, because we asked that last month. I don't know what it is. I mean, we understand that certain parts of the budget, one of them happened to be with the Board of Ed. I forgot who, I think Richard Deary. I mean, I think he asked the whole thing with regards to the purchase of oil. I don't know who asked that. Oh,
I did.
You did, you asked, I'm sorry. That, you know, one of the questions was oil.
Yeah, I saw that.
And, you know, and they bought it when the price of oil was
91.
yeah, exactly. And so you got an answer where that is, where it isn't going. I don't know what it is. I don't know at the end of the year when we tank up again, how long that takes us, how much we'll have left. We're probably going to have a surplus there. But you can't project the surplus today because you haven't bought it.
Right. So, Joe, let me ask you this. Do you get any narrative anymore?
No, there's no narrative on this.
From the Board of Education.
Yes, the Board of Ed in their budget, they give.
No, we get nothing.
We get nothing. We had asked for that part of the whole thing too, that explained maybe circumstances that perhaps didn't fit very well. You know, just like the part-time payroll, that, you know, is $25,000 there. I mean, maybe there's a legitimate explanation. As with the Board of Ed, I mean, Cole and the superintendent put down in, you know, what the difficulties may be or where they spent it. This isn't, and I find that an excellent, what it does and why we had them, why they did it. You know, they didn't always do it like that. Why they did it under this superintendent is one thing. It solves everybody arguing or being inquisitive as to why it's a mistake. It's written down where it was spent.
Right, and then you get a narrative for any other questions you have.
And-
so then you don't have any
And
questions.
it also makes these meetings less encumbered. It's a lot easier to do it if someone puts down, I spent this amount of money because, you know what, the roof was leaking, we had to, not personally, but, you know, the roof was leaking, we fixed it, and that's what it cost, and we'll worry about from capital expenses and whatever it is, how to fix it. But there's an explanation to that. It's not like we're, or anybody else.
I have no problem with the Board. I've never had a problem with the
I
Board.
mean, I'm not measuring the amount of salt Jerry's getting. I just hope he's got enough.
No, I understand that. So, anyway, the first question is, I have no confidence in her numbers that she has. Number two, it may be prudent, there are 3 different companies that she listed, or somebody listed, that's using AccuFund.
Yes.
Maybe it behoove us to get one of them to come down, sort of like go through some of the issues that we're having. We know where a lot of it's
If
coming
you
from.
notice the 3 that she listed, I don't hear the town of anybody.
No.
Peter, you missed the last
It's not.
3
Yeah.
meetings.
Am I-
Yeah, you're just
Am I
repeating
remembering
it.
right on
from
that?
the-
You missed probably the last 3 meetings, okay, which is not your fault, I mean, you know,
Sure
2 or
is.
3 anyway. There's a lot that has happened during those 3 meetings. And we're just as frustrated as you are with the numbers that we're getting.
Or lack thereof.
And I guess I'll leave it at that,
Yep.
all right? And
You know, I'll go back to the software as well. It doesn't matter what software we have. It really doesn't, because it's who's using it and the knowledge of the user. It makes a knowledgeable user have an easier time to create narratives within their reports. But if the numbers aren't in, it doesn't matter.
I mean, Mr. Caswell and Mr. Duffy are 2 people that kind of know and kind of deal with these programs. I don't know what these programs are or not. I've never taken the courses and never will as to what it is. I just can't believe that these programs that have been tested and used and what have you and everything else produce something like this.
But he's right. He's right. I mean, if we have all this data and we don't have the proper data that we need, what good is everything that we have?
it's not
It's
here.
just that
I mean, we got a good software packet, it's how you use it and what information you're getting it on a timely basis. That's recorded. You know, with Paula, we used to, our other
I
financial
understand.
person, we used to get all the data as of a certain date with a narrative. We had all the information that we needed.
Peter, we don't
This-
even have last year's final numbers.
You know, there is a committee, I don't know what the name of it is, I mean, maybe Doug can articulate it a little bit better. I know this is off of where we're going to begin on a half-hour record. And, you know, I don't know if anybody's been hired or not hired to go over the books or not. And I don't know what the status of that is in the operation.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, the auditors, they're in town, so they
I
just
don't know if
completed,
they're over the,
they just completed WPCA and now they're, you know, deep into the last year's towns,
Well, wait a minute, that's the auditors
the auditors.
doing the audit. But how about those people who are going to come in and kind of do
The needs assessment, as
Yeah.
it turned out, when I checked with a number of different sources, in fact, going through the GFOA, nobody could do it as any quicker than,
Nobody can do it what?
nobody could do it any quicker than the auditor's scope of services. So I
December
hired them.
12th.
So I said, get it done. So,
well, that's news.
That's news too.
Well,
That's all I had, Joe.
I mean,
I guess I'm as you're frustrated more than I am, I guess. You know,
Yeah, I
because
mean-
you've been through this for so long.
You know, we-
And I would have blown my hat by now.
Wasn't broke. I don't
But we
know
should
how
have
we
been
got-
here.
I mean, we spent a lot of time trying to, I mean, you and I certainly on this board for a long time, and I never
Never seen anything like it.
Never seen anything like this. I mean, it's coming to a meeting, you know, it's more talking about, you know, some of the things Mr. Bowe perhaps talked about, or something along those lines. And it's a lot easier to deal with it. You know, Paul always sat kind of right over there.
Yep.
And, you know, the question would be at the meeting, and you'd look at Paula, and you say, well, what do you think? You know, and the answer is, I'll get it for you. That was the answer, and little green apples.
And
you
Joe
know,
was,
you have it, you know, the next
I
time.
mean, it might be one or two questions we had because we had the narrative and everything. And she had,
But I don't know what to do about it, other than it was suggested that we get an auditor type of thing to go over with regards to the stuff, if the stuff was being done in and, I mean, we're not in control of some of this, I mean, you understand that.
well, I agree,
We're not in
granted, you
control.
need a needs assessment.
Yeah.
You need a needs assessment.
That's not gonna happen.
Huh?
Well, it will happen by the 12th, so,
What's that?
it will happen by December 12th,
With the people that are here
yes,
doing the audit.
yes.
So they're doing the audit,
And they're doing
the needs assessment at the same time.
Right.
So, I mean, there's going to be something coming out of that. I don't know if it's ready for them to present when it's done on the 12th, I don't know, you know, that stuff always is 30 days behind that.
Are you meeting in December? Do you usually
No,
meet? You
no,
don't
no,
meet?
no. So it's not coming till January. So at that stage, but January's a somewhat long meeting because it's reporting month and everything, you know, everybody's got all the stuff and what, you know, you don't need it in December. So, I mean, I would hope that it gets done before then and it's mailed around to members of this committee and that some answer to the whole thing. And perhaps at that stage of the game, some things get remedied.
Yeah, I took a lot, just for example, I'm looking at, where's the page 415, just for the heck of it. And I'm on the building official, line item 1423. And I'm looking at the original budget of 84,393, and then I'm looking at the year-to-date expended is 228. But that's as of October, so I didn't realize that at the time.
Yeah, we've stopped, I mean, the figures are what you mentioned. That's why we got away from it, because we couldn't even, that made life even harder for us, the way,
Right.
way it was being done.
Right. I guess what I'm saying is if we had confidence in the number that was there as of the end of a specific month, then you would have something.
I don't know
would
if
have
we
some.
have confidence or not, you know, each member can speak for themselves as to whether they have confidence, because you didn't end with any number.
Well, you ended at, this is as of like,
14, as of the budget
Connor
of
said,
14, there's nothing, you know, I mean, there's nothing there at the end. I have no idea it's up or down. I mean, when you look at it now, you would think that everybody must be spending exactly what it is, because at the end of the day, the budget was 20,000 expended after, when we come to July, 20,000. So I guess at the end of it, it's going to be a perfect budget, just like a perfect storm.
Joe, if you believe that,
Yes, I see.
I'll tell you another one. Because I know that for too many years, the 6 years on the Board of Finance, I've never seen that.
But we're not capable
I know.
within the group.
No, I
to do
understand that.
Mr. Caswell. Okay, so moving on here.
Didn't miss much.
Still on public comments.
Yeah, you know, it's supposed to have 3 minutes per person.
Yeah.
I guess.
Still less.
So
Anyway.
9 minutes in.
And 9 minutes in. Number 3, the approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Correspondence, we have none. The financial director's report, we have what we have. We don't have the financial director, I guess. I don't know the reason.
She's sick, right?
Yes, well, her
Mother's sick.
Then we come to the WPCA, which is the pipe relining, the lift station, and the magnesium plant.
The water pipe relining and restoration project, the first contract, we received the bids in. There was an apparent low bidder. We're about ready to award that bid. And for spring construction seasons to start on that project. The lift station, there was an apparent low bidder. There was some question in terms of some of the pumps that they wanted to use in the lift stations. We're going to have a meeting this week to get that resolved, and upon resolution of that project will be given a notice to proceed. The manganese removal project, the WPCA has authorized our consulting engineer to go forward with a bid on the manganese removal project. That probably will go out in December. We'll get the bids back probably in January with the startup for that project again in the spring construction season timetable. So contract 1 for the water pipe relining and restoration will be awarded and a notice to proceed. The lift stations, contract 2 will be going out to bid on the water pipe relining and restoration project this December. And also there's a third contract which deals with the Richmond Hill water tank renovation, and that also will be going out to bid. The lift stations is the lift stations. Hopefully that will be awarded soon and notice proceed to the apparent low bidder, and the manganese removal is going out to bid. You want me to proceed?
Yeah.
Okay, technology park update. The notice to proceed has been given to the low bidder, Tully Construction. There was one little hiccup, which was we had to get a encroachment permit from the state of Connecticut because we're encroaching on the non-access line for I-395. Hopefully that will be resolved before the end of this week, and that project can start up next week. And we hope to have a groundbreaking sometime in December on that project. The company that's responsible for the bridge and the roadway on the east side of the Quinnebog River is confident that he can get that project done by the end of November next year. So it's well within the time frame that we had put into the contract. The other thing is that there's a series of other contracts that we are waiting to put out to bid. One of them is the construction of the roadway on the west side of the Quinnebog, and that will include the roadway and the installation of all the utilities within the right-of-way of the roadway. We are also going out to bid very shortly on the lift station that is required within the technology park, and then also the installation of water lines down from the sewer treatment plant to bring water into the park. We're going to be using the existing force main that Wheelabrator has in place for the sewer, and they will tie into the lift station, so the only expense that will be involved with any installation of sewer lines is the lift station and a little bit of work associated with tying in the force main. Gas, we've had very productive discussions finally with Yankee Gas, and we're hoping that we'll be getting a report from a firm that did the work for us in terms of determining what our needs are for the natural gas at the technology park. And as soon as that is available, we'll provide that to Yankee Gas. We'll get a contract from Yankee Gas, and then we can go out to, or have that work authorized to proceed to bring gas down to the tech park. The only thing that's right now is there's still a series of issues involving the transfer of the 15 acres to the YMCA. I had a meeting this morning with Bill St. Ange. There's still a page, about 3 pages of various items that still have to be resolved, slogged through that issue. But we're hoping to get that resolved pretty soon and be able to transfer that property to the YMCA certainly before the end of the year.
And if we don't, any special year?
2014. The Putnam High School renovation project, they went out to bid. There's going to be 2 bids. One is on the asbestos abatement and removal. Is one bid, and that's incorporated into the total bid package that recently got advertised. And then there's the major construction of the high school that's out to bid. And I forget what date are those coming back, Denise? December 11th?
December 5th. December 5th for the asbestos and December 15th on
15th, yeah.
all the others.
So this is the major work that's going on, going to be going on at the high school. So this is the brunt of the $36 million that we'll be spending on it. So, and I guess the work is going along well in terms of the temporary classroom space and the modules I believe have been installed up there. So that project's moving along.
Have you got the gas hooked up?
The gas is, we actually have requested that the gas be tied in earlier than the Yankee Gas had been proposing. They had been proposing to bring the gas out to this down Woodstock Avenue in the 2016 construction year. We've we requested them to move that up to 2015, and my understanding is, based on a meeting we had with Yankee Gas last week, is that's been approved. The only thing is, it has to still go through the regulatory process, so they have to go through, what is it, PURA, or whatever the Public Utility Regulatory Authority is. So, but if that gets approved, then they'll be bringing the gas in a year ahead of schedule, which should tie in nicely with the work that's being done at the high school. So, the needs assessment, I already brought you up to date on that. The Public Facilities Study Committee, they had a meeting last week. I know that they're still trying to see if there's any way that we can have the conservation and recreation restriction removed from Tar Park. So I don't know if that's going to be how that will work out. I see some downside to that, is that what I have always been told is that if you first of all, we got money for that from the state, and also in order to be able to use it for recreation, and then you have to put a recreation conservation easement on it. To get that removed, you have to basically find a like amount of land, totally new land, to switch over to that location. You can't say, oh, we got fields up at Sagan Street, so we're going to use that. You can't, because that's already preserved as open space. So you can't. That's not new land. So you have to find a like amount of new land somewhere, and you might have to pay back the grant. And I forget how much the grant would be. And then you got, of course, you had Owen Tar donating, what is it, $20,000 to that. So I think there's some downsides to that, but I think the committee wants to pursue that to see what the state will say. I don't know if that's their first choice. I was not at the last meeting, so I do know that they're seriously seeking getting some real interest in the Armory from some of these recreational nonprofit groups like NOW. I don't know if Nikon is part of that.
Nikon, Little League,
Little League. So, and then what we would do is, if that's the case, is that my understanding is that the expense of renovating the Armory would fall into their laps. And then what we would do is we would basically bring our recreation department down there, which would free up some space here. So apparently they have some idea that there is a good use for the Armory. My understanding is that the Provincial House is out of the picture now. There's a very active interest in the Provincial House, and for the town to be interested might be problematic for that interest to go forward. So we basically have told the Public Facilities Committee to back off on the Provincial House, because that conceivably could go on to the property tax roll. So
Go on to the what?
the property tax rolls go on our grand list.
You might want, when I was up here, I don't know, last week, we talked about the, power lines and what that's going to be worth to the tax list.
The value with the power lines, the interstate reliability project, the estimate was that's a $3 to $5 million investment, just on the town of Putnam side. That all goes on will go on our grand list once that project is done. So that will be a significant increase in terms of CLMP's payment to the town of Putnam.
The same thing for the gas lines.
And the gas line. When we installed the gas line, from wherever they decide to install the gas line, hopefully it'll be from Arch Street down Kennedy Drive. That's retained, the ownership is retained by Yankee Gas, so they'll be paying property tax on that gas line once it gets installed. So.
Well, taking the provincial house out of the picture, that's news.
Yeah.
And he just left.
Well, he's going back to call it in.
This is the stuff that never gets in the paper.
You don't know what the interest is on it, though.
I'm not at liberty to tell.
But he's read about the tax rolls.
Well,
the other thing,
Again, there's no taxes now.
Yeah.
The other thing that you should be aware of is that Randy is prepared to send out the notices from the reval. I don't know if you were listening this morning to WYNY.
Yes.
The combined between residential and when we talk about residential, we're also talking condominiums, and the commercial and industrial side of the based on the reval, we are showing a net decrease in the grand list of about 9%.
Wow.
That's without the personal property, so let's not, let's not cut our throats yet.
That's not as bad as other
So
towns.
what's a personal property?
Doesn't matter.
We don't know yet, the personal property will come along. The thing that is important to realize is that the notices have to go out to the property owners now, so they're in the process of getting their notices. They did a thing, Randy did a thing of all the selectmen and the mayor, and most of the selectmen and mayor actually saw a decrease in their property values, so I guess, I don't know if that's good news of that, so maybe that's going to be the case throughout the town, that most people will see a reduction in their property values, just because residential property hasn't come back yet.
They will not be happy. We will be scorned.
Why, because it goes down?
Well, yeah, because
Mill rate's
someone still has to pay the mills.
Oh, yeah, mill rate's probably gonna go up. So.
Well, the
Yes.
thing is, if we're in the ballpark there.
Depends where you are on personal property.
Property.
That's really what's gonna
But
be.
And the good thing that bailed us out is that we did see increases on both the commercial and industrial side. And what I was explaining is where you saw other towns, you saw a significant, much more than a 9% decrease in the grand
That's
list.
Killingly is a
We,
probably
well,
pretty good one.
yeah, but the way I posted it is that because of our diversification in terms of our grand list, because of industrial and commercial, there is sort of going to be a little bit of a shift over to the commercial and industrial side, because they did go up, so. And again, we don't have the results of the personal property yet, so hopefully those
When are you
numbers
gonna
are
have
good. Huh?
When is she going to have that?
I don't know, I forget when they have to report, but I think there's a reporting period that they're required, and so, I don't know if by the end of the, yeah, probably by the end of the calendar year, is when, most companies are on a calendar year basis for tax purposes, I guess. So,
What's the auto mill increase for the capital stuff next year? 2.5?
no, we went down from having to, I think the net cost on the high school was going to be $15 million to the town. That's been reduced now to $9 million. So, I think what we saw was, what were we talking about, three mills possibly? So that's going to be significantly reduced.
That'll help.
Yeah.
Just come June, and I mean, I don't care, I mean, we're going to have, I mean, I don't see how we're not going to have to take up the difference somewhere with regards to milk. I mean, even though it's the same dollar for dollar, I mean, no one, I'm not suggesting we're doing anything other than that, but it's been almost very difficult for a lot of towns to sell that dollar for dollar, because here I thought I got, I saved whatever that amount of money, X number of bucks in taxes because the mills dropped.
Yeah.
And the property dropped, so I'm going to, and then someone comes along and says, well, nice thought, but, the mills are still going to go up, and the values.
But I mean, if the voters smart, I'm not sure sometimes if they are,
Well-
they take last year's bill.
Well,
But all they can do is it's the math. It's very simple. You look at the mill rate.
mainly because you think it's simple.
It is simple.
Well, maybe I think
Isn't it simple?
it's
I mean-
simple, but I would suggest.
Tell me it's not
just-
simple.
You're sparking up the
Yeah,
road.
Yeah.
Logic is not emotion.
Yeah, well,
Emotion,
Yeah.
mill rate goes up, that's emotional.
I know it is, but I mean,
Logically
if
speaking,
you stop, the first thing I look at, okay, I see the mill rate, I go, okay, now, all right,
Yeah, that's
what's my assessment? I do the math, and I look at last year's bill and I say,
Geez, it's less.
all right, it's less, no big deal. Now, I know my car's gonna probably go up, all right, maybe.
Well, if you're looking to sell your home, it's a different thing.
What's that?
If you're looking to sell your home, that's a different issue.
Yeah, that's a different thing. That is
Oh, I want more than.
Exactly.
One thing, the last thing I want to report on is that tomorrow we are going to receive $16.2 million of bond anticipation notes. The breakdown is basically we're turning over the $7.8 million that we borrowed last year. That's going to be continued over into the new borrowing, and we're adding new money of $8.4 million. So how that breaks down is basically we will be spending $5.8 million on the drinking water, and that's the water line replacement and relining project. The manganese treatment project is going to be about $1.4 million. The sewer lift stations, out of a $4 million project, we're hoping to spend $2.5 million, almost $2.6 million. And then the Coin Bar Regional Technology Park, approximately $600,000. And then on the high school, based on cash flows and netting out the state reimbursement, we expect to spend $5.5 million. And then again, this does not go through a full year, but these will mature on July 1st, 2015. The coupon percent was 0.75, the yield is 0.35, so we did very well without this paper not being rated. So
Excellent.
What'd you have to do to get that?
we're just good guys, we're
Unbelievable.
just good people.
You won't see that around.
Everybody wants a lift station.
And you'll be getting, this is, I think we've provided this to you before, but this is the official statement that we have put together, so you'll be getting a
Is
copy of
that
that.
online?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
it's
emailed
online.
It's
Yeah,
online,
you
okay.
mailed it to us too.
And we
Well, I'm getting 30
Yeah.
copies, so you're going to get a paper copy.
We're supposed to have a hard
Put it
copy.
You
online.
mailed it to us too.
One thing to keep in mind is that probably by the time this matures on July 1, we should seriously consider getting a rating from the credit rating agencies. Because the school project, there's a possibility, our finance advisor had talked about the possibility of permanently financing a portion of the high school project at that point. So if we spend $5.5 million by July 1st, we might decide that that's a good time to permanently finance that based on the rates. What the rates?
Well, let's see if we got our house in order first.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, did they say at one point in time we were at kind of that level where couldn't take much more?
The thing, again,
Next to God's
the thing
ears.
that doesn't hurt us is necessarily the financial condition we're in. Now, I know there's some question about that, but the thing that hurts us is more of our social economic demographics for the town. So it's just that, we're a distressed municipality, our income levels are not that high in terms of our residents. So they take a look at that in terms of the town's capacity to pay. The other thing is of this, you've got to realize that a good portion of this is, even though it has to be considered as general obligation bonds of the full town, the full faith and credit of the town, we have that agreement in place with Water WPCA that they're responsible for paying the principal and interest on any of the permanent financing and even the bond anticipation notes that for those projects that we're borrowing.
Yeah, but ultimately it comes back to the town.
Well, it comes back to the full faith and credit. If we had wanted to, we could always say, WPCA, you basically, it's based on the rates that the users pay, but in our case, I think we're better off in terms of using the general obligation of the town as the backup for it. So
Is that it, Mr. Cutler?
I think so.
Any questions as to Mr. Cutler? Okay. New business? Consider payment of secretarial support monthly as opposed to quarterly.
I have no problem with that.
Are we only paying secretaries every 3 months?
Company, that's
It's you?
the 11th.
Yeah, so we're paying you quarterly?
You
right
get a
now?
paycheck once a quarter?
From the Board of Finance, yes.
Oh!
So,
And you like that?
And much too much.
monthly?
hmm?
You like that
That
monthly?
would be nice.
What's it worth to you?
Is there any,
Yeah.
no charter issue,
No.
No.
nobody gonna be
Shouldn't be
yelling
an
at us
issue.
next month? Okay.
No.
Hey, I don't have a problem. I
It
don't
used to be
care.
monthly, so.
Make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Rich.
All the business lawfully come before the board. Any other business? Yeah, that's everybody got one of these
It was emailed.
with
Yeah.
regards. I think got email on it too. didn't we?
Yes, Nancy emailed
I
it.
know.
For us, we're doing it.
Has to do with, if folks are interested in doing this, please be my guest. I mean, I don't think you need anybody designated to do that. I think it'd be good if there was some consistency and people going. Maybe going, as long as you get an idea what it is from month to month, but it's somewhat time consuming. I know we've done it a couple of times. I know Peter done the whole thing.
Are we still under business lawfully to come before a meeting?
Well, I don't know. We're on something.
You still on that one?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. I'd like to talk a little bit about the charter, okay, that people seem to bring up quite often. There's only 2 remaining members of that original group that are still alive that wrote that charter,
You're one of them.
and I'm one of them. And Paul is also one of them.
Paul Elijah?
Yes.
Bill.
That's how old we are. And Bill, I think was involved also, so there's three. That was written by a bunch of young people at the time. Mr. Duffy was the chairman, Mr. Mike Duffy, Connor's dad, and we worked hard to put that document together. Okay, over the period of years that it's been in existence, there's been some times when along the way decisions were made or things were done that weren't quite contrary to the, that were contrary to the charter. And they were done in the best interest of the community, in the best interest of the people. The document, as it is right now, needs to be fixed, and there's a committee that's working on it. Yes, it's a sacred document, and I think we follow it as close as we possibly can. There are some times when it's not followed. And if we went back and looked at all of the errors that were made with that particular charter since its inception, I don't think there'd be too many elected officials in this town hall. Because as a comment was made a few minutes ago, you know, people would lose their jobs, et cetera, et cetera. At no point during the last so many years that it's been intact has anybody ever sued the town because you didn't follow the charter. All right, that's not happening. I mean that's what I want to say about the charter. Okay. Now I've had people throw it at me. Peter Serafin was one. You got to follow the charter. Got to follow the charter. We've been
That seat?
That seat right over there. And you know, he wanted things done in a certain way, and we did things in a way that was in the best interest of the community. And sometimes you have to live with it. That's it for me on the charter. And we're still working on it, right, Connor?
How many people are on it?
How many people?
Yeah.
There's myself, there's Connor,
Jason,
there's Jay, there's Miller.
the first, the selectman, I can't remember her name.
Yeah, Renee.
Renee Lasco.
Renee Lasco, yeah. We had more than that. I think we had 9 at one time.
Matt moved out of Putnam.
Yeah, we lost about 4 people.
Yeah, I think there's 6 or 7.
But you know, you gotta realize that all we're doing is we're just making recommendations. And then they're gonna have to set up a charter revision commission, which is not that easy. All right, you have to have definite,
Goals and things?
but not
No.
goals, no.
The membership has to be, it's
Yeah,
very,
representation.
Representation is.
you can only have so many elected officials and appointed officials and
Right.
stuff.
And you have, the last time we had to have, East Putnam and the town had to have a certain amount. And when you open up the charter, because the state wouldn't change the rules a few years back, where you could take certain portions of the charter, open it up, fix it, and then put it back together. When you open up that charter, those people that'll be on that charter revision commission, and you're nodding your head, you know what I mean, they can do just about what they want.
Yep.
Of course, it'll go to the people for a vote, but still, if they decide, oh, wait a minute, we're gonna change this all around, we're gonna make a lot of changes.
Can of worms.
It's a can of worms.
Once
So-
it gets open.
What we're doing right now is we're just kind of putting together an advisory recommendation, I guess.
Let's go with that.
Let's go with that, that sounds good. And then some commission, I think they're hoping.
How old is the charter?
How old is the charter?
84?
86 or 84.
How did you have to take a guess of how old the charter was?
I think it's 84.
84? Well, you would remember, because you were still.
It was revised once, I think.
It was revised once, and I was on that too.
Anything else?
That's it.
We still have, that was put down at the last.
Yeah, last meeting, somebody wanted public participation.
Yep, any more public participation?
I'm here.
Okay.
I just noticed something in the meeting, so we'll talk about it. Everybody in here is concerned about the fact you don't have any good information to work with financially. I remember sitting in a meeting and listening to the treasurer state, well, whatever you want, just tell me and I'll do it. But it's gonna take so long that all this other stuff is not gonna get done. That's a horrible thing. When you hired the treasurer, you should have, I think, told her, I want this, this, and
If
this.
I can interject, we didn't hire her.
Okay.
You know, we're not her employer. We don't write her evaluation. We don't do any of that stuff. That's done by effectively the selectman, mayor, or what have you.
I believe it is.
We're not, we can complain about it, we can think positive about it, we can think whatever we want to think about it. But
We ask for things, but it's also a whole new process, so.
I think my charge.
Does it ever come to the point where you say, you know, maybe it's time for a new one?
it's not our choice.
That's, yeah, that's
You
not
can't say-
something we should be
you can't
discussing
say that?
here.
You just have to sit here and say.
Well, we can say a lot of things.
I know.
But I don't, maybe a whole bunch of them we shouldn't have said.
Honestly,
But-
guys, from a labor law perspective, we shouldn't be publicly discuing the termination.
That's right.
Well,
We
I'm
don't
a
do
taxpayer,
that.
I guess I could say that.
I
You can
understand where you're
remain
coming
silent.
from, but we just don't want to get sued.
We're not the ones that make
No,
those
but I
decisions.
just wondered,
That's
if
fine.
if you ever come to the point where you actually recommend recommendments, or you have to stay insulated and
It is not our
completely
decision.
indifferent to what's going on and work with what you got. Is that,
Yeah.
that's, so I gotta go and
Speak to the
somewhere
select-
else?
Whether Jerry does a good job Wednesday night, it's supposed to snow. Or doesn't,
It probably won't.
well, that's okay, I hope it doesn't. We'll save money. That, because it's going to be expensive going into 12 o'clock when you're on double or triple time because of holiday pay and what have you and everything else. But we're not the one at the end of the day on Thursday night that's going to go out and say, gee, you know, maybe you should only have one truck out there, or maybe the guy with a shovel would work better. I mean, we don't have any control over that. And we don't hire Jerry. We have no control whether we like it or we don't like it.
But I tell you one thing we do though, is we set the salaries.
Well, that's a whole different story.
It could,
We
it
do
can reduce a lot.
have an impact on the bottom line, on any line item. So if, I'll leave it at that.
But you know, we've gone, I think we got enough comment on that. 3 minutes is gone.
I was just gonna leave you with one comment. He spoke about the charter. And, yeah, like it or not like it, that's a lower button, that's all.
Okay,
Thank you.
motion to adjourn. Oh.
One more. I've come all this way, you think I'm not going to say anything. I just want to
We
thank.
can hope.
Pardon me?
You can hope.
Good, but this is much more entertaining. I want to thank Mr. Grasso for his candor and his explanation of past regressions. It is so noted, and may you all have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Denoble. You have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded, all in favor, aye? Have a nice Thanksgiving. Remember, we get no